Let's imagine that people are going to look at your site for 10 seconds. How much can someone take in that 10 seconds?
What I'm hearing is, in essence, there's lots of different tactics, but all of them with the intent to, in effect, almost like removing all the roadblocks between someone landing and then actually completing the action you want them to take. Hi friends, welcome to the next episode of Between Me and You. Today I'm really excited to have Matt Trudel with me from Trudel. His company specialises in UX and UI with a particular focus on performance design. So we're really going to dig into the particular subject today. We're going to be discussing a real important challenge that many organisations face. It's not just about attracting visitors to their website, but actually keeping them engaged and converting them. So Matt's going to be sharing practical advice on how to design websites that guide visitors effectively, ensuring that valuable traffic doesn't go to waste. So welcome, Matt. Thanks for joining me today on the show. To kick us off, could you tell us a bit about yourself, a bit of background, what led you to focus on performance design?
Yeah, so I've got quite a traditional background in graphic design. But as things went on, I moved into a marketing agency. But as we started growing out our UX capability, we started working closer and closer with that Crow team. Right. And what we found was the traditional flow was to create something that looks very nice, and then afterwards think about how it's actually going to work. And then as those sort of skill sets were learned, we started creating designs that looked beautiful, but also worked very well to start with, and bringing that Crow forward into the design and UX stages.
And you work with quite a range of clients. I guess the first question really to understand is, what across all those different clients, what are the common website challenges that you see from different sectors, both businesses and not-for-profits?
Well, yeah, there are a lot. I would say that, to list a few, not looking at the full journey. So people spend a lot of money, businesses will spend a lot of money on advertising, on PPC, on SEO, and not really thinking about what that person has seen before, but then entering the site. So the first one is to get over that bounce. So making sure that the messaging, the creative, everything is consistent. So when you go from something that sounds and looks a certain way, and then you land on the site, it sounds and looks that way to start with, because that's where you get most of your people just immediately going, oh, that wasn't what I was expecting, and then leaving. And then the next challenge is this balance between making something look very good and performing well. And it's not really a skill set that a lot of designers have. Designers are very good at making things look on brand and look very pretty, but they aren't thinking about that visitor and getting into the mindset of that visitor. So yeah, the real challenge is making sure that people look where you want them to look and understand what your business does.
And I guess that wasted website traffic, that bounce, I think, you tell me more, but I can imagine the bounce is pretty prevalent, whether you're a charity or a profit-making organisation. That waste of it, why does that happen so often?
Well, mostly people don't have a lot of time. So let's imagine that people are going to look at your site for 10 seconds. How much can someone take in that 10 seconds? They're probably going to take in the brand, so that'd be the colors, the type, the logo itself, the photography. They'll take that in almost at like a subconscious level, but in that time they'll be trying to read and take in and learn what the site is about. And if they don't get that understanding very quickly of the purpose of the site, then they're going to leave.
So where do you start? in this? I mean, clearly you've spotted you're invited to work on a project, whatever that. What's the process? Where do you start?
So first, I'll look at all the available flows that the company has. So that might be they've got maybe they know that they've got a couple of different customer types. So we call those personas, and then we would make sure that the site is tailored to those personas. So if you've got two quite distinct ones, you might want to have something on the site that very quickly captures both of those personas and takes them down separate journeys. I mean, one of the most important things is making sure that you are capturing attention and making sure that people are getting the information that they need. And it's also easy to have a very nice, beautiful looking website, but it's getting you to look at the exciting video over there that's just texture. It's not giving you any information. And the information that they want you to read is there. It's on the left, but everyone's looking to the right at the shiny keys being dangled in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think as my background is similar to yours from a point of view of trained in graphic design, love impactful visuals, but actually then as you develop, you start thinking, why is that there? And is that actually, something that's motivating to the customer, our customer? And they go, oh yeah, site looks great. But actually, I'm kind of interested. Perhaps you've got a project where you adapted a page. You could almost say you didn't make it look as good, but actually it converted more. Are there sort of unusual examples where actually something's like people are obsessed with that flashy video or that range of explainer icons or whatever, and actually you made some tweaks that you could almost say dulled down the visuals, but actually delivered better conversion? Do you see that happening?
Yes, yeah. I would say that the hardest customers are the ones that make products that go on shelves, because all those products are put onto a shelf and designed in a way to be on the shelf to scream out, "Hello, I'm here." Think about how bold the branding is on Huel. They're literally black bottles of white, bold, huge text on the side saying like Huel. That's how they're designed. So when you go to their website and you look at how they've designed it, they have to show their products because that's the purpose of you going to that site. But they demand attention, and they're pulling you away, and there's no way to get around it, like other than making the whole site black, so that, there's that less contrast. But that's literally what we have to do sometimes.
And I guess sometimes you have to, from the data you gather, explain and justify why we need to simplify, we need to remove that image or change it from red to white, and then that once the client understands, yes, that's something that's worth doing, at least with a website you can test it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about Charities for a moment. In what way does ineffective website design hinder their ability to achieve their goals, whether that's donations or volunteer sign-ups or raising awareness? I think you've worked with some charities, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I think the main challenge is that charities want to get donations, and it's very hard to get donations if you don't first inform that person about what your charity does. So you've got this tug of war between informing the customer and then asking for donations, and it's all too easy to create like an ecosystem that is constantly bringing you new information, because if you're a big charity, you're doing a lot of things, and you want to draw attention to that. You want to show all of your case studies, all the people that you're helping, all the things that are in dire need of funds, and it's all too easy to get sidetracked. Fortunately, it also forms quite a nice story, which is look at this need that we have, and then as you move down the story, you can slowly bring in the fact that donations are needed, and then at the right point down that story, you can then introduce, please give, click here, and things like that. And then on the other side, when charities really need those donations, that's when the real trouble is, because they focus too much on, please donate, and they're not giving you any reasons why you should. That's when you run into real trouble.
When you were introducing your experience, I was really interested in the phrase performance design. I think it'd be really, really helpful if we could just have a short summary of what is performance design.
Yeah, unfortunately it's a lot of things. So I don't know if I can make it very short, but in essence, it is whatever will help you achieve your goals for your site. So let's say you have low contrast on your website. If anyone has any sort of like visual impairment, they may not be able to see that low contrasting text. So accessibility is actually quite a big part of performance design, because nearly a quarter of all people in the UK have an accessibility need of some kind. So if you're not passing accessibility on your website, you're essentially losing 1/4 of your potential clients. And all it really is about is making sure that you are capturing as much of that attention as possible. So you're getting all these people coming to your website, and you want to be able to get the attention of as many of those people. So another part of it is, if your website is quite slow, if the website's loading slow on a phone or a computer, people will lose interest and they'll bounce essentially. And then there's the more sort of design side of things, which is about making sure that people are understanding what your website is about, and then very clear ways to get that person to do what we want them to do.
What I'm hearing is, in essence, there's lots of different tactics, but all of them with the intent to, in effect, almost like removing all the roadblocks between someone landing and then actually completing the action you want them to take. Because it might not always be a sale. It might be to sign up to volunteer for something or whatever like that. But it's a lot of tactics that then in the end remove any barrier to convert.
Yeah, that is a very good way of putting it. I might use that.
There we go. I'm listening.
So one sort of very like clear example of this is when you go to Amazon and you add something to your basket. You'll then go into your basket and you'll notice that a lot of the navigation is removed. And the reason why is because once they've got you in that payment funnel, they want to keep you in that payment funnel and complete that transaction. So by removing almost every single distraction and ability to move out from it, you've created a very singular purpose for someone to go down.
I've observed it myself of that sort of it. When you're in that basket scenario or whatever like that, actually I want to add something else. It's not always immediately obvious how to get out of that, but it makes sense because you're trying to, filter people down. So yeah, it's good to have those sort of, I guess, practical examples. And one of the things I think would be really helpful for all the listeners and viewers is to have a bit of, I know there's a lot of tactics, but what would you say your top 2 or 3 quick wins, things to immediately look at? People thinking, I've listened to Matt speak, really great advice. I now want to start analysing my own site or something like that.
Yeah, so what I would say is take a look at the journeys that your customers are going to go on. So how do they enter the site? So if you're sending people to your homepage, is your homepage catering for those people? So let's say you sell a couple of products, you would want to show all of those products there in that space, because if if they want product C and you're only showing product A and B, then people are going to go, oh, this doesn't have the thing that I wanted. I'm going to leave. And the next one would be, think about where people are going to be looking on your website, and think about what you want them to actually look at. So if you've got something quite flashy, something, like if you've got a video or something like that, you'll want to put something over the top of that video that is going to entice that person to then, read the text, get that hook, get that understanding, and get people down to that conversion point. And one of the sort of classic layouts on websites is to have your text on the left and some like nice imagery on the right. But what that does is the image takes attention away from the text. So if you put those together, you'll get people to get the understanding from that image, and then read the text and get the additional information that you can't get from the imagery.
How have you learned all this? Is there a go-to book, or is there is it just gathered insight? Because it sounds like there's a lot of data and science to it as well.
Yeah, so unfortunately, it's just hard-earned knowledge through a lot of trial and error. That there are tools that help you understand where people are looking, where people are clicking. So tools such as Microsoft Clarity and HubSpot, these sort of tools allow you to see where people's cursors are hovering, where people are clicking. You can also get heat maps, so you can see how far down people are scrolling on your website. And there's a lot of information that you can gather, but the real skill is being able to look at that data and then correctly interpret it. We had one site where the client was convinced that the carousel was really effective because it was getting a lot of clicks, and the rest of the site wasn't. It was the most clicked thing on the site, but everything else was it was taking you to another page, whereas a carousel you can click and click and it spins and spins. So all you need is one person to click on it lots, and all of a sudden it looks like it's the most interactive with element on that page. So you have to layer your information. So that carousel was quite low down the page, and we look at the map to see how far down people scroll, and only 7% of people were scrolling down that far to see it. So that's how we knew that it wasn't very effective, because not many people were seeing it.
So we've touched there on sort of the importance of not just gathering the data, but correctly interpreting the data. And I've heard talk a lot about A/B testing. And clearly it's a good way to validate and then refine and then continue improving the effectiveness of particular pages on your site. Is there a point which a certain amount of volume of visitors that's needed for A/B testing really to work?
Yes, unfortunately, you do need like a fair amount of visitors. So I would say a minimum of 30 for each to be able to start to get some valuable information back. So if you've got quite a low visitor volume website, what you might want to do is use a user testing company to be able to run those tests. So something like UserBrain, for example, you have to pay for them, and I think it works out to be about £20 per participant. But you can then do your A/B testing using prototypes, where you can send them to two sites with specific, this is A, this is B, and get your information that way.
Okay, yeah, because you've talked about audience personas, so clearly articulating these are different types of audience. Mm-hmm. But then at some point, people involved to design and think about the layout and content, you want to then be testing. And so at least there's different methods, yes, ways to involve people. How much does the copy matter?
So what I would say is whoever understands that product the most should be providing what we call seed copy. So it doesn't have to be nicely copywritten stuff. It just needs to hold all that sort of information that no one else really has on it. So I would always recommend going to the client. If you're the client, write it yourself, and then absolutely use a professional. And I've got a few very skilled copywriters on the books. I'm very blessed to know these people because they are wizards essentially. Yeah, and it's so important to get that copy right because it's got to be on brand, and it's also got to perform as well. And there's a real sort of, yeah, it's its own science, I would say.
What common mistakes do you see across all of your client projects?
Yeah, there's a few. So I would say not optimizing for mobile is a big one. We'll find that things get cropped off a little bit differently, how it's handled. If you've got a selection of products on desktop, you can put them all next to each other, and on mobile, you just don't have that. You just don't have that space, that horizontal space to put everything next to each other. So you end up putting far too much priority on one product, and maybe people don't even see the rest of your range because it's too far down the page. Others, they just don't have a clear way of getting across what it is that they do, and that unclear messaging just leads to people leaving. They just don't get to understand what it is. Then the last one is just having a really flashy, lovely looking website that is just too distracting and just doesn't allow you to quickly understand what it is that the site is about, and it's and what they want you to do.
Thank you, Matt. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you today.
Yeah.
For our viewers, there's people listening that are going to be eager to take the next step, but they might want to learn more and get in touch. What's the best way that they can get in touch with you and maybe access any resources that you might have?
Yeah, so my website, LinkedIn, we'll put some links in, and I am putting together a document as well, which should just have some quick wins that everyone can implement.
So just to those listening and hopefully enjoying the content we share today, feel free to continue that conversation in the comments on YouTube. As always, we'll put all the contact details in the YouTube description and on our blog post. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to releasing more content soon. Thanks. Bye for now.